What the heck is Infinity the game, and should you play it? Today, we're breaking down this great game by Corvus Belli. It's called Infinity. You've probably heard about it by now. You've probably seen it on shelves at your local game store or heard about it at some gaming convention. You're at least aware of it. If you are watching our channel and into tabletop wargaming, you have probably heard of Infinity, but you probably never checked it out in depth until this video. So that's kind of where we're taking this one. Now, Corvus Belli has been put on Infinity for about 10 years now. They have a new rule set. I have played it a couple of times. It is kind of, if you have a problem with Warhammer or Age of Sigmar now, and you don't think that game is realistic enough for you, then I can tell you right now, you will enjoy Infinity. Infinity is a brutal tabletop, near future skirmish game that is kind of no holds barred. It just is what it is. It is no other way. And that is what is happening on the tabletop. And they come out with quite a few releases. This isn't everything we have to show you today, but I kind of want to give you the lay of the land, like kind of how the releases work. So if you ever see something cool, or maybe just want to pick up like enough to play a starter game, so to speak, then you'll kind of know the direction to go and kind of be aware of what's on the horizon for Infinity the game here in 2018 at least. To really get into the nitty-gritty of the game of Infinity, you have to check out their site. It's infinitythegame.com, because there's a lot of things out there named Infinity, let's be real. There might be a popular movie nowadays with that in the title, so you might have a hard time finding it. So infinitythegame.com. That's going to dump you into this page right here, and you can see some of the cool new releases that are coming out in Gen Con. Operation Cold Front's their big expansion. Now, the website's kind of laid out very similar to what you would see maybe from a video game website, and it's definitely got kind of a video game manga kind of, crossover feel, and that's obviously the appeal for a lot of people out there, right? This is some of the stuff that they've done recently. Now, the Infinity is set in the human sphere. That's kind of the galaxy. Recent expansions were like Operation Red Veil, Outrage, well, that's a whole different thing altogether. And Aristea is kind of like their game show within the universe that's also now an arena board game, kind of. So there's a lot of depth to this game, believe it or not. Like, they have so much stuff out there and so many accessories and so many cool things. Like, the game is, really, it's really here to stay. So don't worry about it's very easy to get into it. You just pick up a starter, or you can get what they call like an army pack, which are usually around $100, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But all that being said, there's no point getting into a game unless you're feeling the game. So first off, when you come here, just go to what is Infinity, and it will kind of break it all down. Just like I said, it's a kind of a near future type manga video game kind of crossover feel that is it's skirmish, it's brutal. There's when you play it, it's just the way it is. You can lay down suppressing fire, you can have camo infiltrating dudes. It's really cool, and it's really immersive. It's completely different than anything you have definitely played before. So just kind of click through this and you'll get a feel for what it is, and kind of all the different things. And then there's all the factions, because what's the point of picking up miniatures if you're not feeling one of the factions? What you'll notice really quick about this is there's also a lot of real world kind of feel to things in here. You have characters in here like Achilles, Saladin, like all sorts of really cool stuff, really cool little Easter eggs that are kind of, and they explain once you get into the lore, you'll kind of understand where they came from and why they're part of all this. And then they've got like, robot duders, like androids, and, there's all sorts of non-affiliated things. Like, there's a lot of depth to here. Real world stuff like the Highlanders, America is finally kind of in the game too, which is really cool to see. So there's a lot of stuff. Check it out. The miniatures themselves are simply amazing. So speaking of miniatures, here is kind of the late spring, early summer kind of releases from Corvus Belli. They sent it to us, to talk about for you guys out there, because, we haven't really talked about the stuff. We go over the new releases every now and then on the site itself, but we never really kind of broken it down and given you all a reason to maybe check out the game. Now, I know there's a lot of folks in here that have experience, have played it, or are currently getting into it, or have played it in the past, and maybe, it's always good to have some folks to play with. So as always, sometimes you have to become the community leader in your community to get folks on board for a new game. But like I said, it's really easy to get into price-wise and stuff. So let's go over that real quick. So you got stuff called like support packs, and there's a bunch of different support packs out there. But basically what a support pack is it's like a engineer and a sort of medic, a duders, right? Helper duders. And they come with little robot assister guys generally. And there's every faction has them, and every faction for the most part has a different take on it, right? And that's really cool, and it's characterful, and it's neat, and all that stuff there. And that's kind of what your support packs are. Then you've got your starter packs. Your starter packs are just like some sort of leader guy, some frontline troops, maybe a specialist, probably generally a specialist, and sometimes like a heavy weapon or something that is, you know, pertains to that particular faction or the way they fight or something like that. Like the Highlanders can have like werewolves and they run around with claymores and stuff, you know. So everybody has something a little bit different, but mostly everybody has the same kind of stuff, if you know what I mean. And speaking of that, that's kind of where these releases are over here. So generally everybody has something called a boarding shotgun. It's ubiquitous in the game. Many folks have it. You'll see various versions of this out there. So when it comes to that stuff, and then there's more boarding shotguns, and then you've got these things called hackers. And hackers, you know, if you're familiar with 40k and you've ever played against Genestealer Cult, and they kind of, or even Tzeentch, they take over your stuff, and that's what hackers do. They take over your stuff, and like whether it's your armor or your bots, or they call them tags. Tags are kind of like dreadnoughts compared to like 40k stuff. And they just like mess with you, either shut you down or do other effects and things. And they're really cool, and you gotta have them. Well, you don't have to have them, but it's very helpful if you have them in the game there. And then you've got cool other weapons like flamethrowers. Like, who doesn't like a flamethrower, right? But when it all boils down to it, these prices kind of make sense. Like when you start like, whoa, okay, cool. How much does it cost? Well, the starters go anywhere from like the high, you know, mid 30s to like $50. So, you know, for something that you're going to need, and maybe later on you want to pick up a support pack and like a special weapon guy, not too bad on pricing to get the game in and play and have fun. Pretty reasonable, right? Your support packs are, you know, anywhere from like 20 to $30 ish. Sometimes they go into the low 30s. Your blisters all over the place, but for the most part, they range from like 10 to say $25. With $25 being, sometimes there's double packs. Doesn't look like there's any double packs here, but you kind of get what I'm saying when it comes to that. More miniatures in a pack, the more expensive it is. It just kind of makes sense. It's very similar to Games Workshop's pricing of Volt. Now let me show you something else. I need to clear these off of here and make space. I want to show you one more thing where we crank it up to 11 about getting into the game. Now, if you want to go hard in the paint, they have these things called army packs. Now, this is just for one person. This will get you basically everything you need to kind of host a game or play a game at your local game store and kind of be that community leader. This is not a two-player type thing. There are two-player starter sets out there. These they go for about $100. This one also goes for about $100. So either way, if you want to go all in, throw $100 a C note at the game, this is definitely the way to go. It's going to come with some cardboard terrain and such. I was playing around with it earlier. It's pretty neat. It's not super sturdy, so you want to be careful with it. Setting it up and putting it away probably over time is going to get destroyed, but you know, it is what it is there. If you like the game, well, you'll probably come up with a better solution in the future. It's going to come with some exclusive models from the looks of it, and pretty much enough to play, you know, your warband, so to speak, right? It's going to come with the scenery pack as well, little tabletop, so all the templates and everything. A condensed 80-page full-color booklet for their army faction right there as well. So this is kind of the way to just jump in both feet first. Now, if you want to split it with a friend and do the two-player type deal, there's the Ice Storm starters. There's one coming out here soon at Gen Con. There's been several out already. The Red Veil ones, if you see it, you know, just jump in, $50 a piece. You know, you can scoop it right up as far as that goes. And there's a look at some of the miniatures in there, and those are actual size as well. So that's really kind of cool to see. Obviously, you can check out the theme to all of this, and there's a biker dude in there. I don't know too much about the bikes, to be honest. I'm very novice when it comes to this game, and sometimes, you know, that's a quality in it of itself. Now, like I said, this game has all sorts of accessories and all sorts of different things. But before we jump to that, I want to show you some of the things outside of the game. I want to talk about what actually comes inside the box so you understand a little bit more about that. All right, real quick. There was a time, real talk here, there was a time long ago where everything was produced in pewter. Those days are behind us, but Corvus Belli still does it. So if you buy one of these boxes, do not be alarmed when you open it up and you realize that these are not plastic miniatures. they're a little bit different. These are going to be pewter miniatures. Now, this is not the heroic scale that we're used to on the Games Workshop side of things. This is your, I guess you could say, true scale, or whatever you want to call it. It's your normal 32. That right there is your little robot helper. So if that makes you, this is a 25mm base right there. So if that gives you any idea of what you'll be dealing with, well then, well, it kind of brings it all full circle. And of course, we'll compare and contrast the model size here in a second. So when it comes to pewter, you are going to need a few things that you might not actually own. Army Painter makes a great little $15 tool pack that gives you a file, an X-Acto blade, and a really sturdy set of clippers to clip through stuff, because your plastic clippers are not going to do well on pewter, so do not use them. They will gouge them out and destroy them, and you'll be sad. So I wanted to make that adamantly clear to everyone there. Now when you look at this stuff, definitely look at the reference picture so you know exactly what you're building. It's probably this little duder right here, as far as that goes. You're going to notice that there's these sprues, but there's also these weird, what appears to be these weird little spurs sticking off the ends of things right here. Do not be alarmed like that. That is actually a good thing to have on these miniatures. That means that the pewter spin molds completely filled and all the pewter material shot out. It's like a big film roll. I know everything's digital now, but if you remember the old film rolls, it's very similar to that. So everything spread out, all the metal spread through. They actually drill these little holes into the sides of the mold so that it fills through and gets a complete thorough fill of the model. So if you see these, you got a good fill, nothing to be alarmed about. But the problem is that you do need to grab your metal file and file these off. But here's how you use a file. Everybody just immediately goes back and forth like you're buffing your nails. That is actually a terrible idea because it's going to serrate the miniature. So files are actually designed, at least for miniature stuff, to be used in one direction. So you're going to want to go in one direction, trying to hold it on the same plane, going in the same exact direction, the same height, the same trajectory. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you a nice solid shiny little surface that you're going to need, because when it comes to these miniatures, there's so much surface area, so much magnificent space to paint and give them these vibrant colors to really make these miniatures pop. That's what you're going to want to do, and that's what Affinity is all about. So just some real quick tips right there. It gets you a nice file. Make sure you just go in the same line. Do not serrate your miniatures. Do not go back and forth. And once you get them all built, maybe we'll do a quick how to build a pewter miniature on the channel here next time we get another shipment of these. But we're under a little bit of a time crunch today, so I didn't want to take all that time there. But this is basically what you're going to end up with. Dry fit everything. There's no gaps or anything like that. The detail is pretty incredible, to be quite honest. Once you take a look at all of that stuff there, you can definitely get a little bit more detail sometimes out of pewter than you can plastic. So these are going to appear way more detailed. Now when it comes to size comparisons, here is how this guy compares to, like, say something like a Space Marine. So like I said, it isn't your heroic 20 or your heroic 28 or your new 32 or whatever you want to call it. This is more of your normal scale type deal right there. So it makes them a little bit easier to paint because you don't have to worry about quite as much surface area and such to kind of mess with. So that should give you an idea of the scale. They go together very easily. You just have to use, some gap filling glue or something like that. Very easy stuff there. Now, last but not least, I want to show you some of the accessories that you can really immerse yourself into the Infinity. Oh, one more thing real quick. So if you're wondering what these little tags are inside of each package, this is your quality control number. This is how, like, if you're missing a part or something like that, they're going to want this little number there so they can log it in and get you the part out and try to figure out what happened, or if they have a bigger issue on their hands there. So like I said, depending on how immersive you want to get into the universe, they have all sorts of different things. They got stickers you can put on your train and your bags and such. These are sometimes the little cards that come in the pewter blister packs there. They got pens, obviously, for the Aristea game. Then they've got these things that are pretty neat, and sometimes you get them for playing in leagues, or they're just patches. They're simply just patches. They come with a Velcro option just like that, so you can Velcro them onto some of your bags and such that you get out there, collector bags, or you can actually stitch them into things and they stay Velcro locked into that. Like I said, they do have the game within a game, Aristea. This is just an expansion. I don't know too much about it, but there's like single mini expansions and like a team expansion here. Like I said, it's you can find out more on their site. They're like 4-person little teams, and they run around a little arena that has a lot of line of sight blocking. There's tactical cards and things that they can get. Don't know a whole lot about it. Hope to get a game in at some point, maybe here in the near future, but it looks pretty neat. And you know, games within games are always cool, and it definitely speaks to the health of the actual game itself, the actual main game, of course. And then they have mangas, believe it or not. I think this is a reprint, Outrage, by them, and they actually made the miniatures in this here. I guess I'm reading it wrong, right? Somebody's gonna yell at me, hey, you're reading it wrong. But they actually made some of the characters and stuff that were in here, which was pretty cool. So they've got it all. Like they really have it all. So you know, if you're looking for something fresh, something different, something to jump into, maybe just something to try out some dope painting skills on, well, maybe Infinity's for you. It's definitely worth checking out if you've always been kind of curious. Well, there's no time like the present, so to speak there. So I hope you enjoyed our little, hopefully quick, introduction into Infinity, what the heck it is, whether you should play it, why are those miniatures pewter, does that mean they're fake? No, of course not. Miniatures used to be pewter. It was a long time ago, but we're back. So if you like these type of videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button and work out your hobby muscles. Turn on notifications so you can be the first to like and comment on all our videos.